Imagine walking into a high-end watch boutique. Your heart's beating fast, and your hands are slightly sweaty. Everything around you feels fancy. The lights are soft, the marble floors shine, and right in front of you, inside a perfectly polished glass case, sits the watch you've always dreamed of. A Rolex Submariner. The price? Just under $10,000. You take a deep breath and tell yourself you deserve it. You've worked hard for this moment. This isn't just a tool to tell time, it's a symbol of achievement, a piece of tradition. You. Imagine it being made in a quiet, snowy town in Switzerland, carefully crafted by experts who have spent their entire lives perfecting their skills. It feels like buying history. But what if someone told you that the story you've believed all this time just isn't exactly true? In fact, most of that beautiful watch wasn't made in Switzerland at all. Let that sink in. To uncover the truth, we're not going to the Alps or some cozy village with cobblestone streets. We're heading to a place buzzing with machinery, bright fluorescent lights, and rows of assembly lines. Welcome to Shenzhen, China, the real heart of the watchmaking world. Believe it or not, over 95% of the world's watches are produced right here. Yes, even that luxury piece on your wrist. And no, we're not talking about cheap knockoffs from shady markets. These watches are made with high-quality materials, scratch-resistant sapphire glass, ceramic bezels, carefully crafted dials, just like the ones used by big names such as Rolex, Omega, and Tag Heuer. These are not counterfeits. These are watches made using the same techniques, the same parts, and sometimes even by the same workers who build the luxury models we see in glossy ads. For years, people whispered about it online. A few anonymous Reddit posts, a couple of TikTok videos that vanished quickly. But now it's all out there. Full investigations, behind-the-scenes footage, and leaked clips show crates of Rolex-style components, bezels, dials, even bracelets, being packaged and shipped directly from Chinese factories. And here's the shocking part. These watches aren't fake. They're built using the same machines that make the official products. The only difference? They don't receive the official stamp that says Rolex at the end. Some Chinese manufacturers are no longer staying silent. They're speaking up, and they're proud of what they make. Now, anyone can order a custom-built watch with luxury specs through private Telegram channels, WeChat, or even WhatsApp. No fancy store, no middlemen, no inflated prices. You get the same design, same materials, same weight, and in many cases, the same exact parts. Now here's where things get even more complicated. You know that little Swiss-made label that makes a watch feel prestigious? Turns out it's more of a legal trick than a guarantee of origin. According to Swiss law, only 60% of the value of a watch has to come from Switzerland for it to carry that label. Not 60% of the watch itself, just the value. That means, for example, the movement, the inner mechanism, the research, or even the branding could come from Switzerland, while everything else, the case, bracelet, glass, dial, could be entirely made and assembled in China. Here's what often happens. The Chinese-made parts are sent to Switzerland, where a technician installs the movement, closes the back, and gives it a final polish. That's enough for the watch to be legally labeled Swiss-made. Just like that, it becomes a luxury product in the eyes of the world. And this isn't some recent trend. A former employee from a well-known Swiss watch company revealed that this practice has been happening since at least the 1970s. He even shared receipts and photos showing watch hands, dials, and cases being made in Asia decades ago. Sometimes, even the internal movements were swapped for cheaper quartz units right before shipping. So why didn't the public know about any of this until recently? Simple: money and image. Luxury watch brands spend millions every year on advertising. They buy ad space in magazines, sponsor influencers, and host exclusive events. The media benefits too. Why expose the truth and risk losing those expensive partnerships? That's why many journalists, bloggers, and influencers stay silent. Nobody wants to lose access to those perks: free watches, first-class flights, and VIP treatment. So the truth gets buried. But then the internet happened. Videos of Chinese factories making luxury-style watches started spreading online, and something surprising followed. Rolex, yes, Rolex, quietly lowered their prices. No big announcement, no press release. But authorized dealers in certain regions noticed that the prices of models like the Submariner, GMT Master II, and the Oyster Perpetual dropped by up to 20%. That's almost unheard of. Rolex never goes on sale. Part of their brand power comes from scarcity and high demand. They don't believe in discounts. So for them to suddenly adjust their pricing, that smells like fear. That's not strategy, it's damage control. Because once customers start asking questions about the origin of the watch, the cost of materials, or the massive markup, the whole illusion could collapse. And the language is changing too. People aren't even calling these factory-built watches fakes anymore. They're using terms like homage, parallel build, or OEM original. That last one stands for original equipment manufacturer. In other words, these watches are made just like the originals, only they don't come with the Rolex paperwork. One insider even claimed that some Chinese suppliers received leftover materials from official Rolex or Omega production orders. Instead of throwing them away, they use those exact parts to build nearly identical watches and sell them quietly on the side. Let's talk numbers for a moment. A Rolex that sells for $10,000 may actually cost only $1,200 to $1,500 to manufacture. That's right, less than a quarter of the retail price. Omega watches, for example, are marked up around 4 times their production cost. Christopher Ward, a more transparent British watchmaker, promises to never go higher than a 3 times markup. But Rolex? Some experts believe their markups go even higher than that. So the next time you walk into a boutique and see that gleaming Rolex behind the glass, remember, you're not just paying for craftsmanship, you're paying for the story, the branding, the dream. But now that the truth is out, you get to decide. Do you still believe it's worth it? Or do you finally see the ticking hands for what they really are? Sometimes luxury watches are marked up 5 times or even more than what they actually cost to make. You might be thinking, that's crazy, they're ripping people off. But the truth isn't that simple. You're not just paying for the parts inside the watch, you're paying for what it represents. The feeling you get when someone notices it on your wrist. That moment of silent recognition, when someone sees it and knows what it means. That feeling is powerful. For many people, it's worth the price. But for others, that illusion is starting to fade. Luxury once meant craftsmanship, attention to detail, and rich history. These days, it often just means branding. Take something made in bulk, add a cool backstory, pick a fancy-looking font, stamp a shiny gold logo on it, and suddenly it costs 10 times more. That's the formula. And whether we admit it or not, we've all fallen for it at some point. So here's a question. What's more real? A $300 watch that openly admits it's a look-alike, or a $15,000 piece labeled Swiss-made that might have been put together in the same overseas factory? Now, to be clear, not all imitation watches are equal. The cheap ones cut a lot of corners. They might tick loudly, scratch easily, feel too light, or fog up with the smallest amount of moisture. A serious watch enthusiast can spot one from across the room. And worst of all, when you know you're wearing a fake, it messes with your confidence. You start to worry someone might notice. You try to hide it. That anxiety, it might not be worth saving a few $1,000s. But here's the twist. If most high-end watches are actually assembled in places like China, if the brand name is what drives up the cost more than the materials or craftsmanship, then what even is luxury anymore? It turns out luxury isn't really about what you wear. It's about what it makes people think when they see you wearing it. It's about perception, about emotion, the story we tell ourselves and others. So yeah,